Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. on September the 6th, 2023, and the Bel Air Beach City Council meeting will now come to order. Tonight's invocation is given by Councilmember Frank Bankert. Please give your attention to Mr. Bankert.
Let's bow our heads. Dear God, our Heavenly Father, who has given us free will to come to honor and worship you on our own, please hear our prayers. Dear God, although we are given free will, we often stray from your plan. We pray that you will give us strength to follow your plan, which will provide good works and justice for all your people. We ask that you open the eyes and hearts of your people of Bel Air Beach and give this council the guidance to serve your people the way you want and not by our own self-interest or personal gains. We pray that all will live in peace and serve you, our Father, and you will protect our city from any harm and all harms. We thank you for the minimal damage of last week's storm, and this storm should be seen as a message for all elected officials to protect this creation of yours we graciously call our home. We further pray that you will protect our military and first responders while we mourn for those who were lost in defending our freedom. We thank you for providing them for us and preserving our freedom and ability to freely worship you and your Son, Jesus. In Jesus' name, your Son, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Belinda Livingstone. Here. Councilmember Leslie Notero. Here. Vice Mayor Jody Shirley. Here. Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Weefler.
Here.
City Attorney Randy Moore.
Present.
And Councilmember Lloyd Roberts was unable to attend.
Thank you, Patty. Our first order of business is for approval of the agenda, but I'm going to request that we make some changes. Items 13, 16, and 17 should all be listed in the public hearing section. So what I'm requesting is we move those items to that area, and then we renumber them to where items 16 and 17 are now 14 and 15, and items 14 and 15 become 16 and 17. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Motion to amend the agenda as proposed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jody Shirley. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So the agenda is amended. Now I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion.
Motion by Frank Bankert. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Belinda Livingstone. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved as amended. Now we move to citizen comments. If any citizen would like to address the council about a topic not already on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. We ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. As usual, if any council member would like to respond, I request that you hold your responses until we reach council comments at the end of the meeting. Would any citizen like to address the council? All right, seeing as we have none, citizen comments are now closed. Item 3, we have a presentation from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, beginning with the Law Enforcement Monthly Report.
Hello, how is everyone?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Jolene Bowman. I'm new to your city here, so welcome. Nice to meet all of you. From the details of the statistics that were provided to me for your month of July, I see that there was 1 assault and 3 thefts that occurred that month, and there were 4 people arrested. The majority of the arrests had to do with traffic offenses.
Any questions or comments from the council? No? You said your name is Sergeant Bowman?
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Nice to meet you all.
Very nice meeting you. All right, now we're on to Code Enforcement Monthly Report. Deputy Klapka.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and citizens. Deputy Klapka for the record. For the code enforcement for the month of August, you'll notice that 44% of my time was spent dealing with construction nuisances. And I just want to clarify something. In those nuisances, what I was doing was checking for permits, see if people had permits. They didn't, stop work orders were in place. Also, the big part was before the storm, the city manager gave me a list of all the houses that were under construction. What I did was I went out and inspected each and one of those sites to make sure that they were safe. We did have 2 that were not in compliance. So prior to the storm, I went out and I checked 12 residents. I had 2 that were in violation during the storm. 1 was cleared up and then 1 was cleared up after on Gulf Boulevard. Fortunately, no damage was done from the materials that were left out there. I spoke with the homeowner, basically told him, look, you know, you have to keep this lot cleared. He understands. He lives in Georgia and he made the trip down here because he couldn't get a hold of his contractor to clean up the lot. The other 32% dealt with lawns, weeds, brush. And then the rest of that dealt with traffic nuisances and those types of things. And I'll stand for any questions.
Council, any questions? I do have one.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot. It's an empty lot. It was a knockdown, and they never rebuilt. And it's huge. It's some places it's 6 feet high. Is anything being done about that particular lot?
Where is that lot at?
I believe it's on Donato.
Oh, yes, 2204.
Yes.
Yes, we did send out a notice of violation to the homeowner to get that taken care of.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that on record because
Yes,
I've
sir.
received multiple complaints about it.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, council? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a great evening.
You too. All right. Is Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue here tonight? Nope. All right. Well, let's just move on to item number 5, a presentation given by Vice Mayor Shirley on behalf of the Florida League of Cities.
Would you like to meet me at the podium?
I can do that.
Good evening. City of Bel Air Beach announced today that Dave Gaddis, our mayor, has spent quite a bit of time studying over the last year to receive a gold certificate of excellence from the certificate program of the elected municipal officials hosted by the Florida League of Cities University. Dave received the level 3. There's level 1, 2, and 3, bronze, silver, and gold. Dave received the gold certificate of excellence after committing the last year, August 2022 to July 23. He spent earning points to receive the certificate. So on behalf of the city of Bel Air Beach, Dave, I'd like to give you the certificate of excellence.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Dave.
Thank you. All right, we are on to item number 6, which is another presentation from Lindsay Johansson, Florida League of Cities. Speaking of Florida League of Cities, account executive for FMIT Property and Asset Insurance Policy.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me tonight. My name is Lindsay Johansson. I am the account executive for the West Coast of Florida. And I do handle your insurance program that you all currently purchase through the FMIT. So this year we have a significant increase in our renewals. And I'm sure that you have been able to take a look at this a little bit and have kind of been aware of the market and the situation here in Florida and the property specifically. So what you have in front of you is the proposal, the actual renewal quote, which gives you kind of a line by line itemization for each coverage line. And then the second page is the named storm deductible options that we're offering this year. So traditionally, our coastal cities will take a 2%, 3%, or 5%. This year, every city, whether it's coastal or further inland, will be at a 5%. And that's kind of the standard property trend. So 5% is what this current program is quoted at, and then you have additional options of a 7.5% and a 10% deductible as well. And then you have a corresponding premium on the property there. So that's that piece. And then the second document we received is specifically highlighting the FMIT and some of the strengths of our program. As a carrier, we are now the only of the 3 major trusts in the state that are going to continue to offer dedicated limits, which means you don't share in a large pot with all other cities. You have dedicated limits. So you all went from a total insurable value on the property of a 3.8 valuation. And this year you underwent an asset survey. So that asset survey is basically an appraisal of all the city's assets. After that was completed, you all had about a 33% increase in those values, bringing your total insured value to about a $5 million number. So you did have an increase just based on the appraisal, the actual values. And then the reinsurance market is the second kind of piece to that increase in the property. So you had about a 44% increase in the overall program. And that's considering the general liability, the workers' comp, the property, the auto, and cyber liability as well. So that's kind of a recap. So I can open that up for questions. You know, it's not great news, but this is what we're seeing across the state. This is not specific to just coastal communities. This is a pretty significant market correction.
Mr. Banker.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. You insure a building, correct? Of what?
Insure a building?
You insure a building, you insure our employees for workman's comp.
Correct.
Do our employees receive the 5% increase? We're getting hit with a 44% increase on total things. But when you insure, my property insurance should be about the same as what we're getting here. You don't insure for flood, correct?
We have a flood sublimit in the policy.
And what does that cover?
It covers any flood risks that are associated with the properties that we insure.
Yeah, I've been told that 100 times, but what does it insure? Because when the flood comes in, okay, then you have to go to the NFIP or your flood insurance to mitigate the damages. So I know there's always a disclaimer on every homeowner's policy, 2% hurricane damage and all like that, but what does it truly insure?
So the definition of flood is rising water. So it's from any local waterways. It's also wind-driven rain. So if you have a catastrophic hurricane, what happens with our program is we have Synergy, which you all may be familiar with. That is basically our mitigation team. So that third party will come out and do their initial assessments. And once that initial assessment is concluded, they'll determine what percentage of that loss is flood related. So if there's true surge, like flood surge coming in from the ocean, that's considered flood. But you also have catastrophic property damage that is wind-driven rain. So it's kind of hard to really know until you look at the loss. But basically rising water is what's considered flooding as opposed to falling water, which is your normal windstorm deductible on property.
Well, I understand that I've been dealing with this flood for 2 years now, and I understand the rising water, but again, when it comes to writing the check for damages, you guys don't write it. The NFIP does, or whoever the insurance that is covering the flood.
Correct.
And I believe is our building 100% wind mitigated?
I don't know if it's 100%. I do have little pay for the flood insurance policy.
Right. Yeah, I understand that, but I think we're being scammed. This whole entire state is getting scammed here because I hear all these percentage increases, and these guys, you guys that wrote these building insurance policies, you're jumping on the bandwagon of wind insurance, which would have a catastrophic loss, okay? And you would have, the flood policy would have a catastrophic loss. Thank God not a lot of people claim this year, but your risks are so minimal, in my opinion. If there's a fire, yes, we go to you, okay? If there's a loss of some other type, you know, we go to you. But what are we really getting from you for a 95% total increase?
One second before you go forward, Mr. Bankert, I would like for you to carefully ask your questions in a respectful way for our guest, accusing our guest of scamming us.
I'm accusing the insurance company. I'm sorry
that you would refrain your from.
Well, I think
your property policy covers catastrophic risk. So when your building is damaged from storms, that's including storm surge, that's including the windows getting blown out, all of the mold that comes into the building, a foot of water that's got to get sucked out and mitigated, the drywall that we have to cut out and then remit, you know, basically stabilize that building until we have the initial assessment to rebuild the building. So it's roof, it's plumbing, electrical, all of that goes into rebuilding that building, as well as content. So all of the property that's inside of the building. So that's what the property insurance is. And then you have a sublimit within that property that's dedicated to flood, but you also purchase your own excess flood through the NFIP. So at claims time, that initial assessment will determine how much property damage there is and how much it costs to repair, along with the contents inside, and then it will determine what flood is eligible, what flood coverage will be eligible. Because sometimes if it's wind-driven rain through the storm, then it may be considered part of your property loss. It just depends on that initial assessment. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell you anything about that. I can definitely go through the property insurance policy and try to find specifics about defining flood versus the rest of the policy's coverage.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd like to direct other questions to the council if we have any more, and then I will gladly come back to you if you have others. Council? No?
I'll just state, I'm not surprised at the increases. I own multiple commercial properties throughout the state. And you're just seeing this throughout the state. It's where we shouldn't be surprised at what we're seeing. And I appreciate your help and your efforts that you've put forth here.
Sure.
I know we're limited in what you have to offer us, because most insurance companies have pulled out of the state, and I really appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And to that point, I mean, if you look at what happened in the homeowners market, you have kind of a flight from the state. That's because there is, you know, competition is great, but you kind of get what you pay for. So if everyone's fighting for that cheaper price, eventually what people are paying out, what these insurance companies pay out in premiums, or what they pay out in claims, they're not getting enough in premium. So that rubber has to hit the road at some point. And with the severity and the frequency increasing and catastrophic risk, especially in Florida, especially with Ian, we took the bulk of that risk. It's going to be about $150 million claim when it's all said and done. Insurance carriers can only reserve for so long and pull from reserves that have been sitting on the books for 10 years before we have to kind of get closer to actuarial pricing. So, you know, that's kind of like the NFIP program phased out the subsidies that were involved in that, because they were being used all the time and they need to collect more premium to get closer to the actual risk that they're going to, the 100-year storm is becoming a 50-year storm. And because of that, there has to be a correction in the market. One other thing is that reinsurance, which funds the entire insurance industry at the very top, that has capital injected into it. And with interest rates rising and inflation, the investors that are at the very top of that system are not getting a return on their investment. So they're going to go and put their capital in other safer avenues and vehicles than insurance right now, because insurance claims are on the up. So all those things kind of came together this year. And again, I can send you a great summary of reinsurance. It's really lengthy, but I think it might help put some of this in context. So.
I see that we have $1,000 on our property. Well, that's not a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things, especially whenever you're looking at this bill. Is there a different levels of deductible, and do we have anything we can look at to compare?
Sure, let me look at that really quick. So on the property. That was another deductible. Okay. So you have, I'm not sure why that says $1,000. I need to check on that. Usually the base is $25,000 as your AOP deductible, which is anything that's not wind or storm. So I'm not sure if that might be $1,000 there is for some other, maybe like equipment or something like that. I will definitely confirm that, but I see what you're saying there.
I was actually hoping it was accurate and I could argue with it.
Right, and you could save some money with that. I would say the main storm deductible, taking the higher deductible on that is going to be the thing that removes the needle on pricing.
Okay.
But I will confirm the property deductible for you, the AOP.
Okay, and then yesterday I attended an event and Jeff Brandis spoke there. And he said that this is a major correction that's going on right now. And that next year it's going to correct some more, but it's not going to be near as serious. And then possibly the following year, it will stabilize and we'll just have normal increases. Do you expect the same?
Yes, I would say that this will be the most severe year, the biggest correction. Next year, we'll still have kind of higher increases than normal, but then it should start to kind of flatten out. But it is kind of the market cycle we're in. So I can't say for sure. It kind of depends on the storms as well this year.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Livingston.
Are we voting on page 2?
I think this is just a presentation tonight.
All right. I just wasn't sure because it had an option to check or reject.
Yeah, October 1st is the renewal. So you still have, almost a month to make that determination and let us know which deductible you want to select. If you don't, then it will default to the 5%.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions? No. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out tonight. All right, we are up to item number 7, the city attorney's report. Mr. Moore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are now in September. Last month, I attended the Florida League of Cities annual conference and presented on the 4-hour Sunshine Law Ethics Public Records course, as well as a presentation on public meetings and efficient operations of those meetings. The conference was generally well attended and I think a tremendous resource. Your mayor was there as well. In addition to that, at present, we continue to advance a series of items. We expect to see significant action items between the work session and next meeting in October, including those the ballot language that we talked about, which I hope to have for you in time for the workshop so we can make sure we're all comfortable with that content. And a few other ordinances. As we get into October 2023, please be mindful that as you start to see ordinances, the process by which they're presented may change. That is, we'll start to include that economic impact cover memo that's been required by the legislature. So the process might look just a little different in your materials, not terribly significant for this community, especially because you do not have any real commercial district or that has to constantly be weighed against all these, but that doesn't mean that exempts us altogether from considering and opining on what commercial impacts there may be based on our ordinances. Otherwise, continue to work closely with my office has worked very closely with Kyle over the last few months on the solid waste issue. One of my colleagues, Robert Eschenfelder, has been helping Kyle with that, and I know that there'll be some discussion of that issue this evening. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any other questions you have.
Council.
Yeah, from 1st to 19th Street, our residents use the town of Bel Air Shores for the beach. There was an ordinance passed I believe this year, limiting our residents to only use umbrellas in the 3 beach access lots. Meanwhile, in that same ordinance, it so states that Bel Air Shore residents are free to put umbrellas, canopies, whatever they like, even on the wet sand, which is the state's land. Is that a violation of equal protection for our citizens?
It's my understanding that there were some citizens or interested property owners who advanced such a claim. I believe that matter resolved without a judicial order on the matter. At this stage, I'm not in a position to opine on it. I don't have, I'm generally aware of the ordinance. Whether individual property owners wish to make a claim, that's not really a claim of the city against the town as much as it is individuals against that town and its regulations.
Yeah, I was just concerned about equal protection. I mean, if I'm a resident, I can do whatever I want, but if I'm a non-resident on the wet sand, which is the state owns the seabeds, I'm not. I just feel that's an equal protection clause. And I understand there was a suit that was settled, but with the beach now hardly a beach. The original ordinance was for safety for umbrellas, not to have any. Now you're combining all these umbrellas in this one little spot. And at high tide, you may only have 20 feet of beach now. But again, the residents of Bel Air Shores is allowed to do anything they want when it comes to shade covering, and we're not. And I just don't understand how it's not an equal protection violation to our residents.
Okay, I don't, for me, there's not a question in that statement. I understand your concern.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's without merit or it's with merit. I haven't had the ordinance as something that I've analyzed. There's no city of Bel Air Beach interest there, and that's my client. So that may well be the case. And I think private property owners have attempted to or may continue to pursue that action. But as far as between city and town, that's not something I've opined on. And I don't know what their town attorney has opined or otherwise articulated on that point.
I know I've written to Ashley Moody over a month ago, and I still haven't received a response, but I just thought maybe.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I've actually written to Ashley Moody, Attorney General, about this, and I haven't received a response yet, but I was wondering if you had any legal advice.
I'm not comfortable opining on it just because it's not something I've specifically analyzed.
That's fine.
Anyone else? Okay, I have a question. Across the bridge, there is, or was, I think it's gone now. There was a large yacht that sank. Are you aware of it?
I saw it this morning, yes.
Okay, all right. So I've been speaking with several mayors about this, and they all have major concerns. I know that there are certain laws stipulating what we can and cannot do in the waters in our backyard, but we're interested in possibly hosting a gathering here of local officials. I'm wondering if you would be interested in being there in a legal capacity, just to listen to everyone's ideas and maybe sort of keep us from going down the wrong road.
I work for my client. My client is the council. If the council so desires me to attend something, I'm happy to attend that. The only hedging you'll get from me is I'm not sure if you're asking me to advise an interlocal assembly or just advise my client, but I would, of course, be happy to listen to and receive any information, monitor, go in, and then if this community has action it desires to take or have analyzed or proposed, of course, I would fulfill my duties to this council.
Okay, I just feel like that we're going down a road that we're never going to come back from. And I see, last time I counted, I believe there were 6 boats over here. There may be more now, I don't know. But they're in Bel Air Beach's area that, which
that's always a challenge, especially because things in the water aren't always static and those lines are. So yeah, I hear your concern.
Yeah, and what we're talking about doing is finding a way to, rather than waiting until the boat goes derelict, we should be able to prevent them from coming in and staying for any extended length of time, because as well as I do, as soon as they bring their junker boat in and they drop anchor, if it's really a junker, you don't know it until it's underwater and it's spilling sewer and gas or diesel fuel all up in our waters. So I'm going to speak with the city manager about maybe some dates, and as soon as that comes to fruition, I'll let you know.
Just so I understand, are you talking about like a big C meeting where it's discussed or a separate sort of entity?
This would be not necessarily a big C meeting, but it would be anyone who has intercoastal direct intercoastal access from their municipality that wants to.
So the Bluffs and Bel Air as well, even though they're not.
Yeah, and it may just turn into a giant vent session. I don't know, but if you don't mind, if you could kind of do a little bit of research and maybe let us know how these laws are in place and what it is we're allowed to do and not allowed to do.
I think I've got some resources I can circulate that won't require significant, time and expenditure in that regard to at least start the dialogue, and I can circulate those resources.
All right. Thank you very much.
Just add to that. I think, I know at the last work session, I brought this subject up. This is the second vessel in as many months that has sunk over there. And I believe that at that time you had indicated that you would do some research. I suggested that we look at what Key West is doing, and I know that the city of Madeira Beach just made some substantial changes to their code, which is why we're seeing so many vessels up here. But it's definitely a code issue. I think we need to make some modifications to our code. We talked about it at the work session, so I think it's time to get serious about it.
Understood.
Thank you.
And one last thing is he did a great job in his class.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you've not seen this guy teach, trust me, it's worth giving up 4 hours of your life to see it. So anything else for Mr. Moore? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Item number 8, city manager's report. Mr. Riefler, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start off with the budget. We are doing our first public hearing tonight where we're going to propose and set the millage rate and also approve the first reading of the budget. Related to the budget, I had on here that our RFP for the collection services is being evaluated. I reached out to Waste Management and they provided kindly another month's service at only the CPI increase and the disposal fee that they're incurring through the county. That's on the agenda. I'd still like that for consideration because I believe that being in the month of September right now, we don't really want to rush the process, so we take them up on the rate. The one change I do have on this report is we did convene an evaluation committee on yesterday. It was made up of myself, our community services administrator, and a community volunteer who's the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. We all reviewed the proposals. I provided a tabulation sheet that I got off DemandStar, which is where we hosted the RFP. And you can see there's some differences in the pricing. I ran some numbers on that. If you compare the pricing, the lowest price came in from Waste Connections, which was 8.6% over what we're currently paying on the contract. The second lowest price was Waste Pro, and that was at 18.9% over what we're currently paying. And lastly, Waste Management, incumbent, came in at 34.5% over what our current contract is. I just wanted to lay that out for you so you can see the price, because price is important. When we reviewed the RFPs, we considered all the requirements of the RFP. And when I went through at the meeting and kind of laid out how I saw and interpreted the proposals, and when I looked at and scored each proposal, which the one that stood out to me most was Waste Pro. So it was not the lowest price. And I determined that because the price point was was a tab, which was tab 7 of our RFP. So that was just one consideration. But when it came to the other tabs of the RFP, which included let's see. Well, it included overall organization, key players, way to address the services of Bel Air Beach, transition plan dates, community outreach. So multiple things were included, and when I went through them, we separated Waste Pro out from Waste Connections and Waste Management. Was the transition plan, if we were to consider not sticking with our incumbent current contractor, it's important that we have a good transition plan so that we're confident in that we can make this switch and not cause headache for all our residents. And when I compared the plans, I mean, Waste Pro really kind of laid out a timeline. This is kind of what they've been doing over the last 20 years. They've done it with over 300 municipalities. They have backup vehicles right in the location. They talk about how they're going to communicate effectively up front with the residents to make this transition. They talk about how their drivers will do dry runs and pick up trucks before they even are driving the trash trucks. They should go through their software, talk about staging areas for the dumpster switch outs. They talk about their customer service. Pretty much by the end of the day, no customer will go unanswered. They set a high standard. All their trucks are equipped with the latest technology, onboard cameras, so they can, if there is an incident, they can go back and they can pull the footage from the pickup and be able to tell you what happened that day. So all the employees are held accountable. They identified who will lead the transition plan, and they talk about that their typical timeline for a transition plan is 30 to 45 days, but they've done it in as little as 4 days. And they also say they've already started doing the legwork for the transition, where at the time they submitted this proposal, they were confident in taking over service October 2nd. So when it really comes down to it, that was a very key piece in comparing these proposals. Another thing is they were serving 61 out of 67 counties, and just overall presentation. So once I presented this to the evaluation committee, there was an agreement that Waste Pro was the best proposal, and we felt that overrode the lowest bidder. So the committee agreed that we recommend we go to contract negotiations with Waste Pro.
All right. Council, any comments, questions? I will let you know, I spoke with Mayor Will today, and in Redington Beach, they use Waste Connections. And I will say that he was adamant about the company just being stellar. So I don't know what else to say other than another mayor says good things about this company. So I think I would feel good with either company. It seems that the committee was happiest with Waste Pro, and you are too. So I would be I would side with you.
Yeah, to echo what you said, I spoke to other cities about both companies. It's very competitive. They all spoke highly of. I spoke to Madeira Beach, where Waste Pro does their recycling program, and they took over there. Nothing but good things to say. I heard from city manager in the city of Seminole. They're significant because they do both their trash collection and their recycling. And again, she's completely satisfied with their service. So I think all these companies are great companies. On top of that, one thing I forgot to mention is Waste Pro, something that stood out in their proposal is for the recycling, they offered at no charge. I think it was 58. 64 gallon recycling carts. They'll do a bin service, what we currently have, but they'll offer no charge. These, like the medium sized recycling carts, they'll offer the residents more space, and their strategy is they can automate it, and at the same time, they found that reduces the amount of recyclables that just go into the trash anyways. When you run out of space, if they call it diversion, so the diversion rates they find decrease, but the diversion rates with the transition, they lower by 30%. So that's another thing. It's something to consider. We don't have to go to the carts, but I know in the past RFP, I reviewed the notes when we considered going to the large trash carts, and the concern was that the elderly citizens of Bel Air Beach would struggle with such a large cart. But these, I think, are workable. They're kind of a medium-sized cart, and if you use the recycling bins, you can't really fit that much in there. So I think that's a plus.
Would they recycle my existing cart?
I don't know, maybe we probably could take them back at the city. But yeah.
I have a concern. You mentioned they're automating. So is that true for the canisters as well? Because
no.
One benefit we have is that, our current vendor has guys on the ground.
Right. No, and they will provide
but they do an excellent job. I just
right.
want to make sure everyone.
But yeah, they will pick up any container the resident uses. But they will also transition to a trash cart if we ever decide to. So they did either way.
Well, let's find out what the council thinks. Mr. Banker.
Are they going to give the same type of service for landscaping like we have now, like palm branches and everything like that? Most of our residents don't tie them up. There was a big thing about 4 years ago here with Waste Management. They weren't going to pick up anything. It wasn't bundled. That lasted about a week. I think Lynn couldn't turn his phone off. He got so many calls, and then they went back to, just picking up, because some of these people just put piles and piles and piles out of all different types of shrubbery. It's not bound up. Will they give us the same type of service?
So when we did the RFP, we didn't put any stipulations on how the yard waste went out there. There was some questions that we said that would be negotiated through the contract. So our intention is not to have anything just too limiting to the residents, because we're aware of the way the yard waste is picked up. And we talked about in the evaluation committee, we believe that when it comes down to it, they're going to want to serve the customers. So I don't think it's going to be the hang up.
I think it should be noted, though.
Yeah, no, it will be.
Thank you.
Ms. Livingstone.
If the group and Kyle agree that Waste Pro Florida is the way to go, then I'm in agreement as well.
Vice Mayor Shirley.
Just another question regarding the storm dumpsters. When time comes that we have a need for additional dumpsters and things like that, is that an additional charge? Is that part of the original contract? What happens?
So in our last contract, that was worked out during the negotiation. So it was written in the 30-yard roll-offs, the 4 complimentary roll-offs.
They were included in the contract. Is that what you're saying?
They were included, yes. And when we negotiate the contract, they'll be presented to the city council, so you guys will review it and vote on it.
Okay. That's a pretty big benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Natero.
Currently, we have all the condos along the west side of Gulf Boulevard have fenced in little things where they have their garbage dumpster, and then another one where they have their recycled dumpster. Are the ones for these other vendors the same size?
They proposed all the same size. They were given a list in the RFP with every condominium, what they used. And they proposed all the same sizes, and that they would use plastic, I believe, to try and reduce noise.
Okay.
I don't know if you currently have plastic.
Pardon?
They proposed plastic dumpsters because they thought it cut down on noise in the residential area.
Okay,
How do you feel about utilizing Waste Pro of Florida?
I'm very happy with Waste Management.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I think any company, if they can provide the level of service that we're getting now with Waste Management, I think, I believe this council would be satisfied with that. All right, so we're going to vote later on extending their contract for 1 month. And what does that do for us? That gives us enough time to vote in next month's meeting to approve the contract?
Yes, so if you approve me to go to negotiation, I'll set up a meeting with Waste Pro and we'll go through each point of our proposed contract and see if there's any changes that want to be made or what we want to include or drop off. And then I will share that with Attorney Mora's firm and Attorney Eschenfelder and come up with a contract that we feel will serve the residents, and then that will be put on a meeting agenda for your approval.
All right, do we need a motion for that?
I just need the approval from council to go to negotiations.
Let's just let's do a motion right quick. Would someone like to make a motion to move forward with creating a contract?
I have another question before we move to that. And it's with regard, we went to bid, took this out to bid. I'm not hearing any reason why we wouldn't take the low bid, other than we just have this comfort level. And if we're looking at, I think I need a better argument why we wouldn't look at the low bid.
When the evaluation committee reviewed, we thought there was a standout difference in what was presented, what was proposed. Like I said, the transition plan, if you read one plan versus the other, you're looking at about 10 times more information presented and just explained. It gives you a lot more confidence in that they're going to be able to pull off what they're saying.
So better at communicating the entire process.
Better overall proposal, better order, less errors. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So, yes, I'll move forward with I guess what are we trying to, what am I,
Would you like to make a motion
yes,
to move forward with Waste Pro of Florida?
I would like to move forward with a motion to enter into negotiations with Waste Pro of Florida on behalf of the city of Bel Air Beach.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you. All right, so 3 more items on the report. Gulf Boulevard undergrounding. We had a slight delay from the storm. So the UCF was going to finish up in the month of August, but they're about a couple of weeks back. So we're expecting September. There'll be probably one more invoice on that first phase 1 PO. And then what I'll do is submit it to the county as, you know, the whole PO for reimbursement from Penny for Pinellas. The stormwater improvement projects, I've been working back and forth with Summer Septic, who does our cameraing and our cleaning of the pipes. Right now with our tide schedule, I'm looking at getting them in, hopefully to get a lot of the video footage of the pipes that we wanted to assess on September 18th. So I'm going to get with Gemini Engineering. Hopefully I can get those videos to them that they can still be able to evaluate them and make it to that night's meeting to give us the answers that we wanted as far as the conditions of the pipes. But that's just a tide thing. One thing I wanted to find out, because it is a price point, there's pipe that doesn't have any barnacle buildup, oysters in it. That can be just filmed with a camera truck, no problem. There's the pipe segments that go from the closest inlet to the seawalls out to the seawall are going to need cleaning to be videoed. The project proposed Originally, I thought was that we're gonna have a line item price for the cure in place lining. So that when we go through on the project and clean and inspect the pipes, that as needed, if we found damage, we would line it then. It's not, it doesn't have to be done that way. But it will increase what we spend right now on the budget. So I wanted to know if we felt it was pertinent to move forward and start cleaning the pipes now and inspect them. And then we won't be doing it later. Not sure how the council felt about that.
Council?
Good God, clean them. I mean, we're not even at the height of hurricane season yet. I think they should be cleaned.
So just clean and video. It might slow things down a little bit. Hopefully they can get it done with tight schedule, but
I wouldn't want to see any surprises like we did in the last on 12th and 13th.
Okay. All right, I'll move forward with that. And then also as a personnel manual, which we have the second reading of the ordinance and the resolution to adopt.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments for the city manager?
Your field crew work like dogs, getting the city ready, sandbagging. They put in long, hard hours in the sun and heat. And I would think this council, we should give them, those three guys, a $250 stipend bonus for their recognition for doing this. They were out there for hours, neglecting their own homes and that, and just some kind of appreciation. So I'm making a motion. I think it's appropriate for one time, $250 each stipend.
Do I have a second?
Before we proceed on the motion, I want to make sure we're just and Mr. Banger, just because I wasn't aware that we're going to be making that motion, I do want to add there is a statute that says that under Florida Statute 215.425, no extra compensation shall be made to any officer, agent, employee, or contractor after the service has been rendered with the contract made, nor shall any money be appropriated or paid on any claim, the subject matter of which has not been provided for by pre-existing laws. Suffice to say, there is some authority against extra compensation to employees for performing their duties. I have an obligation to raise that as a concern. I'm not saying this falls squarely within it, but I wasn't aware we were going to be having that discussion or what the personnel policies might otherwise say on the matter.
But I think under 215, I don't have it in front of me.
I'm sorry, we're not able to discuss this because the motion has not been seconded. Was there a second at all? No. I'm sorry, the motion dies. Thank you for the advice, Mr. Moore. All right, we are on to item number 9, which is the city clerk's report. Ms. Gentry, you have the floor.
No report this month, Mayor.
No report. Thank you. Any questions or comments for the city clerk? No. All right, we are on to the consent agenda. Item number 10 is for approval of the August 7th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Leslie Natero. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Shirley. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. Now we're to public hearings. The first is item 11. This is consideration of ordinance 23-03. This is the second reading. City Attorney Moore.
Yes, this is ordinance 23-03, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending the City of Bel Air Beach comprehensive plan pursuant to the evaluation and appraisal process of section 163.3191 Florida statutes and the amendment process of section 163.3184 Florida statutes, adopting new goals, objectives, and policies and maps as presented here and below, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. This has been the second and final reading of ordinance number 23-03 by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to speak on ordinance 23-03? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Before we continue, I'm going to need a motion to adopt ordinance 23-03.
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Leslie Natero. Vice Mayor Shirley, you have the floor.
I have nothing to add. This is housekeeping, things that we needed to get taken care of as part of our requirements with the state.
Thank you, Ms. Shirley. Any other comments? Nope. All right, Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Banker,
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone,
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shirley,
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye, so it passes unanimously. Ordinance 2023 amending the comprehensive plan passes. Right, and I take it that it was published, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, we're on to item number 12. This is consideration of ordinance 23-04, also a second reading. City Attorney Mora.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance 23-04. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, repealing previously adopted versions of the city's personnel manual, providing for the creation of Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 1, Section 2-143, Personnel Policy Manual, making provision for the adoption of amendment of personnel policies via resolution, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. This is the second and final reading of ordinance 23-04 by title only. As previously presented, Mayor, this adds language to your code contemplating the adoption of personnel policies by personnel policy manuals by resolution. There will be a separate resolution to follow on the agenda concerning what would be adopted. This is really just making it explicitly clear how the personnel policy is adopted and repealing any previous ordinances to the contrary.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Seeing as there are none, citizen comments are now closed. Let's see, I'm going to need a motion to adopt ordinance 23-04.
So moved.
Motion made by Leslie Natero. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Livingstone. Ms. Natero, you have the floor.
No further comments.
Any other comments from the council? Nope. All right. Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Banker.
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone,
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shirley,
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. Again, unanimously. Ordinance 23-04, repealing previously adopted versions of the city's personnel manual, is approved. And that one was also published, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, we are on to item number 13, consideration of ordinance 23-05. This is a first reading. Mr. Mora.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is ordinance 23-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, amending Chapter 18, Section 18-5 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Time for Qualifying, removing the specified qualifying period, providing for the establishment of the qualifying period by resolution of the City Council, providing for the incorporation of recitals, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This has been a reading of ordinance 23-05 by title only. Substantively, what this ordinance does, Council, is your code presently has a defined qualifying period. Were we to follow that chapter and verse, it would put the qualifying period after the deadline to identify qualified candidates to the supervisor of electors. And in this current year, it would also have the qualifying period fall over the Christmas holiday and weekend. What this would do is, rather than have something defined by ordinance that's a little less flexible, have it that we will adopt a resolution annually that calls for the election, and in that resolution set forth the qualifying period.
Thank you for explaining that. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Seeing as there are none, citizen comments are now closed. I'm going to need a motion to adopt ordinance 23-05. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Leslie Natero. Vice Mayor Shirley, you have the floor.
Nothing further to add.
Any other comments from the council? Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard,
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone,
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro. Yes. Vice Mayor Shirley.
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. This one passes 5-0. Ordinance 23-05, amending chapter 18, section 18-5 of the city's code of ordinances. All right, and that is the first reading, so we will do this again next month. All right, now we are on to item number 14, consideration of adopting the proposed ad valorem millage rate of 2.0394 mils for fiscal year 2023-2024. This is a first reading. City Manager Riefler.
Thank you, Mayor. So the preliminary gross taxable value came in at 809 million approximately. And that is a 10.85% increase over the final gross taxable value of the 22-23 year. Staff is proposing that we set the final ad valorem millage rate at 2.0394. The budget that was presented to council and that we've held 2 workshops over was predicated on that millage rate. The millage rate of the 2.0394 will produce approximately $1,585,000 in net ad valorem revenues, representing a $155,000 increase over last year's revenues. The Department of Revenue requires the city to calculate a rollback millage rate. And the rollback millage rate is defined as the millage rate that would generate the same amount of ad valorem tax revenue as was levied during the prior year. The rollback rate is calculated at 1.8494. So the proposed millage rate of 2.0394 is 10.27% higher than the rollback rate. Staff is respectfully requesting the council to set the proposed millage rate at 2.0394 mils.
Thank you, Mr. Riefler. Let's go to the citizens for comments. No comments. Citizen comments are now closed. I'm going to need a motion to adopt the proposed ad valorem millage rate of 2.0394 mils for fiscal year 2023-2024.
So moved.
Motion made by Leslie Notaro. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Shirley. Ms. Notaro, you have the floor.
I have nothing to add. I think Kyle has explained it in his memo. I think we should go forward with it at the same rate.
Any other comments?
Yes, I don't think we need the 2.0394. I think we could use the rollback rate. We had a $250,000 generator we were budgeting for. We never spent that money. I don't believe we need $100,000 for a boat. It's about time we give some of this money back to the citizens. I would not support a 2.0394 mil.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments? Seeing as there are none, Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
No.
Councilmember Livingstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro. Yes. Vice Mayor Shirley.
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Yes, so the motion carries 4-1. And that was the first reading. All right, now we are on to item number 15. This is for consideration of approving the City of Bel Air Beach budget, making appropriations for certain expense. Oh, what? I need to go back. Bear with me here. I forgot to read something very important. We're back on item number 14. I'm supposed to read this. The proposed millage rate of 2.0394 mils, which is higher than the rollback rate by 10.27%, is to fund the expenses of the general fund for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024. The final approved millage rate for the city of Bel Air Beach will be presented at a second and final public hearing that will be held on Monday, September 18th, 2023 at 5:05 p.m. All right. Now that I've got that out of the way, we're moving on to item number 15, consideration of approving the city of Bel Air Beach budget, making appropriations for certain expenditures, expenses, capital improvements, and certain indebtedness for the year beginning October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024. This is a first reading of the budget. City Manager Riefler.
Thank you, Mayor. So in compliance with the charter, I prepared and submitted to council the annual budget for fiscal year 2024. I held some individual meetings, one-on-ones, and then we had 2 budget workshops that were on June 19th and July 17th. Since then, we've made some changes and amended to produce the draft that is presented today. And the staff respectfully requests the city council to approve the 2023-24 budget, including the capital plans.
Thank you, Mr. Riefler. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Would anyone like to speak? All right, citizen comments are closed. I'm going to need a motion to approve the City of Bel Air Beach budget for 2023-2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Leslie Natero. Vice Mayor Shirley, you have the floor.
I think we've all reviewed the budget and we understand what we're approving or not approving here. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Do we have other comments?
I think the budget should be looked at and examined before. I just raised $350,000. I can't vote for it with good conscience.
Thank you, Mr. Bankard. Any other comments? All right. Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
No.
Councilmember Livingstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Notero. Yes. Vice Mayor Shirley.
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. The motion carries 4-1. Did I get that right? Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I have to read something else. The final approved budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 for the city of Bel Air Beach will be presented at a second and final public hearing that will be held at the community center on Monday, September 18th, 2023 at 5:05 p.m. held on Monday. Oh, that's weird. It's written twice. Okay, well, I read it. And now we are on to the regular agenda, item number 16. This is for consideration of resolution 2023-06. I'll give everyone time to find it. It was item number 14. All right, Mr. Mora, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is resolution 2023-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, terminating the state of local emergency in Bel Air Beach declared by resolution of the City Council due to Tropical Storm Idalia/Hurricane Idalia and its threat of harm to the residents and property of the City of Bel Air Beach, providing for an effective date and termination date. This has been a reading of resolution 2023-06 by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any citizens like to comment? No comments. Citizen comments are closed. I need a motion to approve resolution 2023-06.
Motion.
Motion made by Frank Bankard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Shirley. Mr. Bankard, you have the floor.
Resolution speaks for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Bankard. Any other comments? Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
Yes.
Councilmember Livingstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Otero,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shirley. Aye. Mayor Gaddis.
Aye, and I'm very happy that resolution 2023-06 terminating the state of local emergency passed. All right, now we are on to item number 17. This was item number 15. It's consideration of resolution 2023-07. Mr. Mora.
Thank you. This is resolution 2023-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, adopting a comprehensive personnel policy manual, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This has been a first reading, or this has been the sole reading of resolution 2023-07 by title only. As indicated earlier in tonight's hearing, you adopted the ordinance that provides you can adopt your personnel policy by resolution. This is that resolution, and behind it in the materials in the agenda are the personnel policy that you will be adopting pursuant to the resolution. This has been reviewed by my office, the manager, and your carrier at various stages in this process to provide a unified personnel policy rather than 2 or 3 separate documents that govern the employees. And it's offered this evening for your proposal. One of the benefits of where you can, and not everything can be done this way, but where you can have things that are not codified and done by resolution, one of the benefits to that is if there are things we need to amend, it's as simple as a resolution at a later date. If we need to change a number, a figure, a policy, it can be changed by resolution at a later date without 2 hearings and ads and all that stuff. When you're talking about internal policies, resolutions are preferred where the law permits it, and it is permitted here. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. Let's go to the citizens. We have no comments. All right. Citizen comments are now closed. I need a motion to approve resolution 2023-07.
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Shirley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Leslie Notero. Vice Mayor Shirley, you have the floor.
I have nothing further to add.
Any other comments?
Just for the record, this is the personnel manual that we will be voting on, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Thank you. With Kyle, like I said before, with the at-will employment, I cannot support this. There should be a just clause for terminating employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bankert. Any other comments from the council? All right, Patty, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert.
No.
Councilmember Livingstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Notero.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shirley.
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis.
Aye. Resolution 2023-07, adopting a comprehensive personnel policy manual, passes 4-1. The good news is if the council decides they don't like part of this, now we only have to do a resolution to make a change. So that's a good thing. All right, we are on to item number 18. This is for authorization of the city manager to execute a purchase order for a 1-month extension of solid waste collection services. City Manager Riefler.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned earlier in the city manager report, as we kind of came up on the time or the deadline for the proposal submission, it was requested that they had the contractors have more time for a proposal submission. And to make that possible, I reached out to Waste Management, our current waste collection contractor, and the government affairs manager, Tim Bowers, had gracefully worked with his superiors to extend our contract for the month of October, and only at the increase of the 4% CPI and the Pinellas County solid waste disposal costs. So it's a very good price. It's actually a lower price than any of our RFP contract prices, and I still think that we should take them up on this amendment to the agreement to provide service for the month of October.
Thank you, Mr. Riefler. Citizens, any comments? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Tim Bowers, and I'm the governmental affairs representative for Waste Management. I'd just like to say that Waste Management is very appreciative of the relationship that we've had with Bel Air Beach. And I realize that as we talked to City Manager Riefler and going through the RFP process, we were looking at an extension. And we took everything into consideration, the relationship that we have. And we basically applied a 4% increase, which covered a CPI and the disposal rate. Again, we realized the city was going through the process. We wanted to put our best foot forward, be a good partner, and that's why we kept it at a reasonable rate for the 1 month extension, because we wanted to make sure that you got the best deal, that you had the time you needed to take a look at everything we were looking at in solid waste. We just really appreciate the relationship we've had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from citizens? Oh, all right. Citizen comments are now closed. I need a motion to authorize to extend solid waste services for 1 month.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Bankard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Livingstone. Mr. Bankard, you have the floor.
I think it should pass. I'm sure we don't want trash piling up for a month.
Any other comments? All right. In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. You're authorized, Mr. Riefler.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 19, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? No. All right. Well, we will move right on to council comments. This month, we'll begin with Councilmember Natero.
No further comments.
And Councilmember Roberts didn't make it. And Mr. Bankard, you're up.
Thankfully, this storm that we just had didn't do severe damage. Thank God. But we all should remember it was at least 100 miles off the coast when it came up. I've been stressing stormwater pumps. I talked to a couple contractors. We could bring in some pumps here, do some catch basins. It would cost around $40,000 for like 4 streets, but I've been addressing, we should be raising some of these seawalls. I mean, it breached the seawalls this past storm, and it was a mess down here. Just thankfully, not a lot of houses got ruined. I thank God for that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Bankard. Up next is Ms. Livingstone.
I just want to thank Kyle and his team. Kyle, you provided a lot of communication to us during the storm, and I, for one, was not here. So I do appreciate your communication. And from what Frank said, the team did an outstanding job. So thank you very, very much. And we're just all blessed that we didn't get directly hit. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Livingstone. Up next is Vice Mayor Shirley.
I agree with what everyone said. You guys did a great job. City and staff did a wonderful job. I also have to put a shout out to the Sheriff's Department. They were on every street every day. You know, I stayed and got a knock on my door asking me to leave. So I appreciate y'all's concerns and all the hard work. There was a lot of presence from the Sheriff's Department and our fire department. I want to just kind of reiterate with the question of whether or not we could give bonuses to staff and that sort of thing. Well, I think it's a great idea. I just want to remind residents, if they believe staff's doing a good job, that nothing prevents you from handing them a gift card or something like that. So to show your appreciation and a thank you card, even just kind words go a long way. So just add that to a thought for the day. And thank you to the residents that attended, and I appreciate everything. That's it.
Thank you. All right. Today, I attended the Mayor's Council of Pinellas County, where we met for lunch, and a representative from the Florida League of Cities was there to answer questions concerning current and future legislation. I asked if there had been any consideration of overturning the full financial disclosure law for municipalities in general, And were they aware of the impact it was having on small municipalities like Bel Air Beach? The expected answer was no, but it kicked off a heated discussion about council and commission members resigning, as well as the quality of future members who could just walk in unopposed. I will continue to have this conversation whenever I can, but unfortunately it may require a judge to undo this damaging law. Also this Friday, the Big C mayors and county commissioners will meet with the Army Corps of Engineers to discuss regular and emergency beach nourishment. I'm confident there will be plenty of press coverage on this one, so stay tuned. Also, we went through 20 agenda items in less than an hour and a half. I don't want anyone out there to think that we just gloss right through these. Every item is discussed, unless it's just a standard housekeeping item. We do our homework and the hard work during work sessions. And if you like would like to see more of how we reach our decisions, I would invite you to attend our work sessions. As always, I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight, either here or remotely. To have a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Belinda Livingstone. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good night, everyone.
Not as painful as I thought it was. Dave, nice article in the paper today.
Yeah, that one.